What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, featuring that next mod. Of course, we are out here with week number 11 action, as we got a good one in store for you guys here today. We got 8 great games on tap, some more clarity in the FCS playoff race, so you're not going to want to miss a single thing. And you know, if you're excited for this video, man, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button if you do happen to be brand new to the channel as well. And we will start this episode out on a high note. We actually have the game of the week, which we Corso is going to be rocking with Sacramento State. 2 teams in the top 10, both looking to make their first FCS playoff appearance in this series, as Sacramento State's defense coming through and playing Ford tough to start things out. Now we'll get Portland State back up inside their own 10-yard line, as Pierre looking for an answer over the middle of the field, and that is going to be connected for a big gain. That's a first down for the Vikings. And now Portland State, they are able to get moving downfield, eventually able to cross midfield before we see that Sherman tank get into the end zone. Touchdown Vikings. And Portland State, the number 9 team in the nation, they are going to strike first, and they will take that initial 7-0 lead. Seems like it was a delayed handoff that got them going, so you love to see that, as Portland State continuing to show that they are not messing around. They are not messing around and finding out either. That is a beautiful throw out to Codwell. Got it right over to safety. That was an impressive throw. And now Portland State on the goal line here once again, as Pierre is going to move the fullback over to left-hand side. Gets him back into the backfield, as Sherman's going to take the toss out to the right-hand side and gets untouched in the end zone there as well. Touchdown Vikings. And Portland State will take a 14-0 lead. And now Sacramento State's need to go to work. DeLar McNair getting the start, because we see Hall being hurt, but some things just simply never change. This is one of them. Jacob Hill, the star receiver for this squad, able to get a huge play for a timely first down. The sophomore coming through, making a big play there, and eventually leads Sacramento State into a goal line situation where Willie Hendricks will do the rest of the work there. He will find the end zone, and it is a touchdown for Sacramento State that cuts it down to just a touchdown game. But Portland State, they just look like a team of destiny this year, and they do not want to be left out of the FCS playoffs once again. They respond right away after the Sacramento State touchdown, and it's a 21-7 game. Now, we'll see if DeLar McNair's got a little bit something in him, and he finds Espinoza down the sideline. It's a foot race, and no one is going to be catching him, as Espinoza is going to find the end zone, an 80-yard strike. DeLar McNair showing some composure, especially for a true freshman as well. And that's going to be his first touchdown of the game. It remains 21-14 going into the second half. But then, once we got into that second half, we might start seeing Sacramento State unfolding a little bit. DeLar McNair puts the ball on the ground, and that does lead to a Portland State field goal. And then also, last play of the third quarter, and Sherman, one person left to beat, and he gets chopped down right at about the inside the 10-yard line potentially. It was a touchdown saving tackle either way, and one that they desperately needed. That was Davis who came in and saved the day. But a goal line situation for Portland State nonetheless, as we'll see Pierre looks to the left, finds the tight end, and the tight end will be able to get that outside leverage that he was looking for. And that will also be a touchdown for the Portland State Vikings, as they really move ahead. 31-14 now being your score in this football game. And later on in that fourth quarter, trying to close out the game, and Pierre gets absolutely leveled by Anthony Suber. That's going to be his 5th TFL of the game, so a good defensive performance from him, but that is not going to be enough. Defense is a group effort, and if 11 guys are not where they need to be, there's going to be some consequences. That's exactly what we saw right there. Yet another score, and not only do we see Duar McNair get hurt, his backup, Adam Young, also ends up getting hurt too. So this is the emergency quarterback for Sacramento State. It's a wide receiver, one of the backup wide receivers on the team, that is going to step in real fast and try to make something happen, really anything. You can tell this man has not played quarterback whatsoever, as that is easily read. That's going to be an interception, and Portland State's going to win the football game. 38-14 going to be your final score. Sacramento State is a good football team, don't get me wrong, but they are going to need to get some health back at the quarterback position. Hopefully Duar McNair is not too seriously injured. He'll be able to go, because Carlos Hall, the actual starter for this team, he is still dealing with some injury issues himself. If not, it could be a long second half for Sacramento State as they try to make the FCS playoffs for the first time. But we jump into a non-top 25 matchup, but a game that will have some conference championship implications potentially. We got Samford going on the road and taking on the number 17 team in all of college football. That is right, we are taking a look at Tennessee Tech. And Tennessee Tech right now, they are actually sitting at the very top of the conference standings as of right now. They are deeply involved in this race, but so is Samford. This is a big game here for both football teams as they try to also coincidentally make their very first FCS playoff appearance as well, as Tennessee Tech is led by their quarterback, Chase Jones. He is a junior to this point, having a good year, 22 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. But that Samford defense is pretty special, top 10 in the country in yards allowed. We'll see if Chase Jones can figure him out, and it looks like early on, that's not what's going to happen here. Anthony Battle is actually going to get his 2nd interception of the season, able to pick off Chase Jones, and really a brilliant opportunity for Samford to get on the board here first. We'll see if Ashton Hines can lead him down the field as he'll try to run on a 1st and 10, but we see him get absolutely rattled. Ashton Hines nowhere to go with the football, and Tennessee Tech, they are actually going to be able to fall on this fumble recovery. So early we do see some turnovers happening around this game, and Tennessee Tech, they do not do anything with their first drive, but they will have their 2nd drive happen a little bit sooner than originally anticipated, because we do have a fumble on the punt return. Tennessee Tech is able to bring that in for a field goal, so a 3-0 lead. But Samford turns the football over once again. This time it's another Ashton Hines turnover, this one being an interception, as Hines was trying to get it out to his tailback, the sophomore custom Asante Randolph Jr., and it was picked off. So Tennessee Tech, they do get another field goal out of it, 6-0. We actually don't see our first touchdown of the game until we get to about a minute left in this ball game. A 31-yard interception returned for a touchdown here, as Samford will take the lead eventually after Chase Jones throws yet another interception on this drive. So now we find Samford actually being up 10-6, and Tennessee Tech still really struggling to find any rhythm on the offensive side of the ball. We see Chase Jones going to get sacked here, force a 3rd and 22. Not where you want to be, but that's where they are. Jones is going to let this one rip downfield. He's got a man. The running back lined up on a linebacker, and that running back, he just want to go ahead, ran that go route, and that is going to go for a massive gain. I mean, running back on a linebacker, you're taking that matchup every single time. That linebacker simply could not keep up. So now Tennessee Tech trying to punch it into the end zone so that they can take the lead in this game. So showing some stiff resistance. We're going to have to go for it here on 4th down. From the 5-yard line, Jones trying to go play action, but it's going to be intercepted. Going all the way. Is it going to be a 100-plus yard touchdown return? And it looks like, unless there's any flags on the football field, that is going to be a 98-yard touchdown. And that is a huge play as well. As we're talking about going from Tennessee Tech taking the lead, all of a sudden, Samford extends their lead on their own. And now 17-6 going to be your score. Chase Jones trying to go downfield, but again, just a sloppy performance from this quarterback. We do see a flag thrown on this play. We'll go ahead and check what the flag is. It looks like it is clipping. So it does move Samford back a little bit. Instead of starting at the 30-yard line, we're going to be starting from midfield instead. So still great field position to work with, but when this Samford offense is having less than 100 yards on the ground, that's not really what you want to see. You do want to see Asante Randolph Jr. get loose in the secondary. And man, I do believe that fat lady, she might be singing as of right now. Big time run by Asante Randolph Jr. And Samford is going to pull the upset here in the early slate of games. One of the several noon games that we got going on here on the channel today. Samford does win 24-6. They get to 6-3, so that could work themselves into the top 25. But what I'm really curious about is what Tennessee Tech is going to do. Are they going to remain in the top 25? This is only going to be their second loss of the season, but this was also a team at the same time that was not getting a lot of attention going into this year. But one team that is getting plenty of attention is Eastern Kentucky. Now, Eastern Kentucky is one of those teams that did make the FCS playoffs last year, but they were bounced in the first round. They go on the road this time to take on Eastern Illinois, another team that went to the FCS playoffs last year. And the Panthers are still in it for the conference championship race, their only realistic option to go to the FCS playoffs this year. So they really need this win against Eastern Kentucky, essentially to keep their season alive and to give them any hope really of at least getting above 500. Like, you got to do that if you're going to be a preseason top 25 squad. But we'll see what Eastern Kentucky does. Do they keep their concentration? We'll jump to the Eastern Kentucky offense to start this game. 3rd and short starting out. So we'll see if Eastern Kentucky does get a first down to start this game. Gonna throw to the left-hand side, and it's gonna be intercepted by Brandon Smith, who gets his very first interception of the season, and it comes at a big time. Eastern Illinois, like I said, really needs to win this game, and that's how you do it. You got to win the turnover battle. The Panthers will get a field goal to start this game out, but Eastern Kentucky, they got one of the most lethal running backs in the entire country, Leon Rose. He's going to actually take a cut over to the opposite side of the field before eventually being brought down. So that's a huge run for him, as now Eastern Kentucky gets itself into the red zone. We'll see Coates look over to the left-hand side, throws a rocket into the end zone. Touchdown, Eastern Kentucky. And the Colonels are going to take the lead. That was thrown on a rope. And now Eastern Illinois looking for their response, as we'll see the tailback going to get some run in. This is going to be a big play downfield, except it's fumbled. It's fumbled down the field. It's not fumbled out of bounds. And Eastern Kentucky gets his hands on it. Just a tough break, because you're going to have a really big play here. You just forgot to take care of the football. So now Eastern Kentucky gets an additional possession, but then we do see Eastern Kentucky return the favor, though. Really interesting to see that, because looks like Leon Rose was trying to set up the halfback pass. Coates was open. He drops it in. It was a backward pass. So Eastern Illinois is considered a fumble. They land on the fumble, and they will take advantage of the field position inside the 5-yard line. So Eastern Illinois does take the lead. How long can they hang on to that lead? Ensuing kickoff. We'll see if they put it in the hands of Leon Rose. He does not, but this returner is just as dangerous, though. Down the sideline, he's got some space to work, and he is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Colonels, and Eastern Kentucky makes it a 14-10 lead. And now Lobdell now is going to have to answer back again against a strong Eastern Kentucky defense. But it does help when other players on the team start to step up in a big play. This is the fullback that is going to take the carry. No one was expecting the fullback to take that run. And instead, it's a goal line situation from the 7. Looking for the lead. Lobdell throws it into the end zone. And it ends up finding the junior custom, Ralph Rags. The Rags to riches story. Touchdown, Panthers. And Eastern Illinois finds itself back on top, 17-14. We got a pretty exciting game that we got going on, particularly in this part of the episode right here. And the Panthers even have a chance to extend their lead. They have one of the best teams in the country. Number 11, Eastern Kentucky, got them right on the ropes right now. But Eastern Illinois cannot capitalize. Matter of fact, we do actually jump to where this game was tied. And Eastern Kentucky, from that point on, starts to really take control of this game. At least a little bit. Coach is going to throw a nice ball out to the right-hand side and does go for a pretty sizable gain, especially after Coach had plenty of time in the pocket to really dissect that defense a little bit. So that will go for a touchdown. But going into the fourth quarter, still a tight one, 24-17. Get them 4s up. Lobdell under center. He's got a bunch to the right. Looking, he's got some time. Starting to run out of it though. Throws it up and finds the true freshman, Phoenix Firebird. Haven't said his name a lot this season, but I'll tell you what, the Firebird, he's going to rise from the ashes at a perfect time. And now, all knotted up at 24, a chance for Eastern Illinois to take the lead, but it's going to be intercepted. Mark Robinson, big time to get your first sack of the entire season right now. Able to drop back in coverage, saw that the crossing route was coming and took advantage. And now puts the ball in the hands of this Eastern Kentucky team that has been really successful in the red zone this season. You could see why when they have such a big-time running back in Leon Rose. 19-yard rush, goes for a touchdown. And with 1:38 left to play, the Eastern Kentucky Colonels, will they do enough to avoid the upset? Big-time moment. And it looks like they just will. Eastern Illinois, they can't get anything going on their next drive. This would be to ice the game if they want to do so. They will, with Leon Rose, who is going to end up being untouched in the end zone. Touchdown, Colonels. And Eastern Kentucky once again gets another one on the board. 38-24. Gonna be your final score, and Eastern Kentucky, they are going to survive. But for Eastern Illinois, their season essentially is going to be done in terms of trying to get back to the FCS playoffs. Eastern Illinois was a team that made it to the second round last year. They beat Yale, but it looks like there will be another team taking their playoff spot, because at 3-6, they're more than likely being done. Eastern Kentucky, meanwhile, at 7-2 now, in a strong spot to return. Speaking of making some strong starts and finishes, Sam Houston State has to be one of those teams on the radar right now. They come in 6-1 with a big national ranking, number 13 in the country. But they are coming into a very surprising loss. They did lose to Nicholls State, which we did end up witnessing in the last episode. We'll see if the Citadel can use some of that same formula that the Nicholls State Colonels use to pull the win off, so that Citadel can stay alive in the SEC championship race. This is one that they'll need, but they also gotta find a way to stop this passing game. David Bullock's gonna find Miniacci, the younger brother of Albert Miniacci, who is now off to the NFL, as Bullock looks to the right-hand side, throws one up into the end zone, and it's gonna be caught. Touchdown, Sam Houston State. And the Bearcats, them Cardiac Cats, they are going to score first in this ball game, able to get a score up on the board thanks to the junior custom Craig Gregg. And now Citadel down 7-0 early, but then we really start to see the Citadel prove that they are more than capable than playing up or playing down to their competition. Because let's be realistic, that's exactly what Sam Houston did last week. They played down to their competition and they got burned for it. So now Citadel, we'll see what they have in the tank. They don't have Talon Fullerton. He is one of the best offensive players that they have, and he's a true freshman, but he is hurt as well, so we don't get to see him, sadly. But Sam Houston State, they go back to work at about the 30-yard line. Bullock dropping back again. Throws one out to the left-hand side. Craig Gregg making for it all for the second receiving touchdown of the game. This one going for 30 yards this time around. And Sam Houston State quickly taking control of this football game. 21-0 now being your score. And we still got a half to play. Citadel, can they answer back? Trying to get up on the board, but we do also see an interception, and that also gets taken back to the crib. And you already know that Sam Houston State head coach, he is absolutely ecstatic about how his team is playing right now, especially after the disappointment of last week. 28-0 now being the score, but the Citadel, they will not go quietly into the night, as Cronin is going to get a big catch downfield, does get behind the defense, and it will set up the first scoring opportunity of the day for the Citadel Bulldogs. But they need some better performance from this quarterback. 4 for 14 so far. Dixon throws one up over the middle of the field, but it's a tip drill, and it's going to end up being intercepted once again. Malachi Davis III, a sophomore custom, will eventually make the tackle, but that ball was in the air uncomfortably too long for what's supposed to be a bullet pass. And Sam Houston State, they will just abuse the Citadel Bulldogs in this one. Still 28-0. Sam Houston State, they do miss the field goal attempt, so they do miss out on making it 30+0. But I'm sure it won't take long for him to get into the 30s, as Bullock lines up under center, fakes the handoff, and Bullock fires one. No! It's going to be deflected away. Bullock was looking over the middle of the field and could have been intercepted if that Citadel defender got there a little bit sooner. But Miniacci, he will find the end zone for Sam Houston State. And them Cardiac Cats, well, you don't have to worry about cardiac arrest this time around, as they have a very comfortable lead to work with. 35-0 now your score. As we go into 3 minutes left in the quarter, Williams, he's going to get a handoff this time. He gets loose out into the secondary. No one's going to catch him either. And 42-0 now being your score. Just a complete game here for Sam Houston State. Something that you want to see unfold no matter what. And that's exactly what we are seeing right now. And that will mean Sam Houston State, they win their 7th game of the season. Now sitting at 7-1. Looking pretty good to make the playoffs. So we're about halfway through the gameplay in this episode. So we'll take a moment to take a look at some of the other FCS scores around the league. We start with Western Carolina playing host to Alabama A&M, and the Catamounts take care of business, winning 42-20, as that will get their record up to 7-2, while Alabama A&M is ensured a losing season. Kent State, meanwhile, is trying to get themselves back into the top 25, and this is a pretty good way to do it. Blowing out a hapless Illinois State squad, 52-12 being your score, as the Golden Flashes get to 6-2, while Illinois State still searches for their first win. Utah State, meanwhile, actually had a pretty difficult challenge with Oral Roberts, but Utah State is able to prevail, winning 21-14 in order to remain undefeated. North Dakota State, meanwhile, going on the road to take on the Idaho State Bengals, and North Dakota State just prevailing, winning 35-28 to now be 6-1 and be in that range to being a first-round bye team. Akron also just barely escaping from the clutches of an upset, as Western Illinois gave it everything that they had, but Akron still wins 27-24. However, we do have a little mix-up in Conference USA, as Hofstra is able to pull the upset on SMU 39-18, which makes the Conference USA race a little bit more interesting. But that's not the only upset that will happen, though, as the Delta Devils, Mississippi Valley State, they win 37-35 against Texas Southern, their third loss of the season. We'll see how far those Tigers fall, but a great win for the Delta Devils. But now we get into the night action here as we check in on the #1 team in college football, the Georgia Southern Eagles, going on the road to take on McNeese State, the Cowboys, at 3-4. But this game could have a little bit of intrigue to it because, I don't know if you saw on that intro graphic there, but Ikeda Woods is hurt, and he is out for tonight's game against McNeese State. So, backup quarterback's going to have to come in. They should be able to beat McNeese State, but how much of a difference does Ikeda Woods make? It's going to have to be Blake Williams that's going to have to carry the day on the ground. He's having a good year so far, but he will be the focal point, I would imagine, in this offense, as McNeese State will get things going, trying to get that ground game going, and actually does get a decent amount of yardage on the ground. The problem is, he puts the football on the ground, and now Georgia Southern, they are going to take over at the 15-yard line, and that is something that you definitely want to avoid when you're playing against the #1 team in college football. You cannot turn the football over like that. And now Georgia Southern's going to go to work, but they're actually going to pass the football here. That's Josephi Krakowski. That's going to make the contested catch in the end zone, and that will be a touchdown for the Georgia Southern Eagles. They might have to adjust their offensive attack a little bit. This quarterback that's in the backfield, not as athletic as Ikeda Woods. He's more of a pocket passer, so going to see some passing plays. And to his credit, he's executing the offense extremely well. The change has been, nice for those receivers. Josephi Krakowski gets another touchdown. It's down 14-0. Make that 21-0 with Aaron Smith able to go make a play in the end zone as well. And Georgia Southern, they will quickly move to a 21-0 lead over the McNeese State Cowboys. Nice throw over the middle of the field. One-on-one coverage. And now McNeese State needs something from its quarterback, Christensen. Gotta get it out to the screen on the left-hand side. Able to make something skate on the left-hand side. And now it's a foot race. Only one that could catch him is DeAndre Dowdell II. And that is not going to be enough to do so. And McNeese State, they do get themselves on the board. They can find a way to get some stops. Watch out. This could be a competitive football game. So now we get into 1 minute left. Georgia Southern is forced off the field, which is exactly what you need. But you do not need that interception there. And that is exactly what happened. Trying to throw it up to his favorite target. And his favorite target, it is going to let him down. As to be fair, Christensen, he was facing some serious pressure. And he might have not gotten everything that he wanted on that football. Might have been a difference between a touchdown and an interception. And Georgia Southern will use that to find the end zone once again. Touchdown, Georgia Southern. And that makes it 28-7 in favor of that #1 team in college football. That fullback being an absolute bruiser. But now we jump into the fourth quarter of action as Benson does make some adjustments at the line of scrimmage. We'll see how Williams gets used. He's available for the pitch. He gets the pitch, makes a man miss, makes a second man miss as well. And Blake Williams will end up finding the end zone. And it's a touchdown for the Georgia Southern Eagles. Make that 35-7. And McNeese State in real trouble, trying to stay alive, trying to get back in this game, but they need some big plays. Will they get one from their tailback? Oh no, Justin Brooks gets absolutely annihilated out there. It is holiday season. He got lit up like a Christmas tree. So now going back to that passing game, but no, Christensen's actually going to run for it. Got some space to work with and does get across the 15-yard line, choosing right away to scramble because nobody was there to cover him in a spy. So we'll see if Christensen can lead yet another drive. 3rd and 10 from the 12-yard line. Christensen under shotgun, throws over the left-hand side and throws it in to the end zone. Touchdown, Cowboys. And McNeese State gets another one on the board. 35-14 now being your score, as we'll see Benson trying to match that, and he actually will. Just a big time throw by the backup quarterback, and that is going to be good for a nice touchdown play. You absolutely love to see it. Josephi Krakowski is going to get his hands on the football once more. He has 3 receiving touchdowns. He's not used to getting that many much action in the passing game, but you know, here we are anyways with the barbecue on the titties. But we will see Christensen throw yet another interception, unfortunately, and that will mean Georgia Southern, they will march on as they continue their quest for an undefeated season. The Eagles winning by a final score of 42-14, and this will also effectively end McNeese State's season, as they will now fall to 3-5. Even if they win their next few games, it is very unsure if they find their way into the FCS playoffs, but they can still play spoiler here moving forward. Definitely a big congrats and a big props to Benson, who's the backup quarterback, for having a pretty solid football game as they get to 9-0. But another game to watch out for. This is also a conference game. Southeast Missouri State, they come in number 14 in the country. They go take on a team that was ranked in the top 25 to start this season, but unfortunately, things have just simply not gone their way this season. It does happen sometimes, and Southeast Missouri State, you know, they obviously have a lot to play for, but even though this Penguin squad is not going to the FCS playoffs here in year number 4, they can play spoiler still, and this is a great opportunity to play spoiler, but it's going to have to come down to, can they find a way to contain Lonnie Scott? He has been a very good receiver. The numbers don't necessarily show it, but when the ball's in his hands, he can make some magic happen. So it's going to be important for Youngstown State to play some keep away, and that is not how you want to start this football game out. Osiah Jackson Jr., the sophomore redshirt, he is going to throw it up into coverage, and it ends up being intercepted to start this football game. So now Travis Johnson gets a chance to take over under center. He's going to drop back, gets a little bit of time off the play action, and finds his man in the end zone, the true freshman, Joshua Taylor. Another custom here in this FCS Dynasty. A little bit of custom to custom connection. You like to see that. In Southeast Missouri State, them Redhawks, they are going to take the lead quickly. Next drive for Southeast, we'll see Travis Johnson drop back to pass once again. The sophomore puts it up into the air, and that will end up being intercepted as well. So Youngstown State, they came to play, and this crowd that the Penguins have here, they're going to try to be that 12th man on the field. You can certainly hear them trying to push this Youngstown State team to make this upset happen. We'll see if they can do it. They did fail to score in their following possession. So it still remains 7-0 as Travis Johnson, he will drop back to pass once again, puts one up. Triple coverage, and Lonnie Scott still finds a way to come down with it. That is a huge bomb that Lonnie Scott got there. As look at this coverage. That is ridiculous. Triple coverage, still found a way to come down with it. Simply built different. And now it's 1st and goal from the 6-yard line. Johnson hands it off to the tailback, gets it out to the outside, and fights his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Redhawks. And that will be another score. Puts Southeast Missouri State really in a 2-possession lead. But even with that, it has certainly not been a perfect day. Travis Johnson will throw his 2nd interception of the evening. Just not sure what Travis Johnson is really looking at right here. But Youngstown State, they actually failed to score on that. They missed a field goal. So still 14-3 is going to be your score. And Wilkinson is going to get an interception as well. Just not a good day for Osiah Jackson Jr. We'll see if they go into their bench, if that's something that they do decide to do. But they hold the Redhawks to a field goal, so it does remain a 2-score game. But Youngstown State, they need to come out firing here in this second half, especially because the Redhawks, they get the ball to start this second half, but they will not have it for very long whatsoever, as that is going to go all the way into the end zone, and that is going to be a touchdown. 24-3 going to be your score. And now Johnson dropping back again, looking over to the right-hand side. He's looking for a finisher and finds Lonnie Scott for another big play downfield. He has been getting big plays all day long, and this might be his longest one of the season. 88 yards, and look at that ball. That is a pretty good ball that Travis Johnson throws. Not a lot of quarterbacks can make that kind of throw. And Travis Johnson, he's getting better each and every week. He's the X factor for Southeast Missouri State. We know that this defense is really good, and we see it here as well with Kelly Russell, the sophomore custom, getting his hands on the football for yet another turnover. But if Travis Johnson can also play like this, getting these big throws over and over, Lonnie Scott is on fire as well to go with it. This is going to be a really hard team to beat in the FCS playoffs. I'm just going to say that right now. Not throwing any predictions out there, but Southeast Missouri State certainly a team to watch as the tailback gets it once again, finds his way into the end zone for yet another touchdown, and it simply ends up being a runaway affair. Southeast Missouri State, they are going to blow the doors off Youngstown State, winning 45-3 as Redhawks are now 7-2, while Youngstown State is the exact opposite. But speaking of teams that have a lot to play for, Southern is certainly one of those squads, number 6 in the entire country, and they are deep in the Big 12 Conference Championship race as well. They're trying to get to the Conference Championship for the first time since season number 1. It's basically a 3-team race with teams like Prairie View and Mississippi Valley State, those types of teams. They're just kind of there to, maybe play spoiler a little bit. We'll see if Prairie View A&M has what it takes to play that spoiler, but they got a pretty good quarterback in Justin Jones on the other side. While he has struggled with the turnovers this season, this is one of the better dual threat quarterbacks in the country, and we're not going to waste any time. We are going to go ahead and jump right into it. Southern and Prairie View A&M looking to go at it once again. And here comes Prairie View trying to get the ball downfield, but it's going to be fumbled initially. And that is one of the last things that you want to see when you're trying to pull the upset on a top 10 team. You cannot turn the ball over. And there was even a clipping penalty on one of the customs in, I believe it was Jamie McKenzie. But Southern on plus territory to start things out. Gonna have to really see Prairie View's defense really step up here just to make sure that they hold on to a field goal, much less, not allowing any points to be scored. And that's not going to happen here, as Justin Jones is going to fire a strike in the back of the end zone. That's going to be a touchdown. And Justin Jones gets touchdown pass number 12 on the year. And Southern quickly gets out to a 10-3 lead. But when you're a big underdog, you got to take some chances. You're going to have to take some risk. And unfortunately, that's a risk that's going to backfire tremendously. Southern, they get the turnover here as Prairie was trying to set up this halfback pass, trying to get it back to the quarterback. I'm really not sure what that running back was seeing, to be honest with you guys. It's another plus turnover as Pace goes to work, but Prairie View falls on it. Oh my! This Prairie View squad, they just might still have an actual chance to win this game, and the Panthers fall on it. So they do stem the tide on Southern for now, but it won't last forever though. Pace, he's going to find his way into the end zone and pace the Southern Jaguars to a pretty good lead here late in the first half, as Southern does take a 17-3 lead here in this SLAC conference game. But second half gets even better for the Southern Jaguars. 5:15 left to play. Jones throws one up to the left-hand side, throws it up into double coverage, and it's going to end up being caught for a monumental first down. Just a go pattern and just trusting a receiver to make a play. And that is the story of this drive. Getting all the way down to the 1-yard line. Jones hands it off to Chase Pace. And another pacing touchdown for the Southern Jaguars. And they take a 24-3 lead. Few plays, actually, towards the end of the game, we will see yet another Pace touchdown to go with it. So 37-3, Southern's going to win pretty handily in this one. And Southern gets to 7-2 on the year. Just been a really resurgent season for the Southern Jaguars. Whereas Prairie View, they are going to fall to 4-5. Now, they won't be shut out as Gary Klaus, one of your guys' customs, by the way, he does knock a field goal in this game. But Southern definitely looking like a lock for the FCS playoffs. We'll see if that also holds for another team, not only trying to break an FCS playoff drought, but neither of these teams have made the playoffs, particularly Northern Arizona. They're sitting at number 18 right now, taking on a Weber State squad that is not eligible for the FCS playoffs this year. They are currently under NCAA sanctions, but they can still compete for a conference championship. And Weber State, they're still in that picture as of right now, but they got to win this game if they want to win a conference championship. As the key to stopping Northern Arizona, got to stop Darrell White, as well as a talented quarterback in Tyrone Wolf. But first, we're going to take some looks at another quarterback that's in this game, E.J. Joseph. No, not E.J. Joseph, Abilene Thomas. I read that number wrong. You can hit me up in the comments, tell me how down wrong I am. But third and long from the 46-yard line, though, as Abilene Thomas is going to try to get some yardage for this Weber State offense. And not only does he get the yards, but he's also going to find the scoreboard as well, as that is going to be a touchdown for the Weber State Wildcats. Big time throw on a third and long as well by Abilene Thomas. Gets the time that he needed there. And an early 7-0 lead for Weber State. Is now third and inches. We're going to see a huge run up the gut as well. No one is going to stop this tailback from being able to find the end zone. That's a 46-yard touchdown. I mean, just such an easy run for him to execute. Makes it a 2-score gain. And now Tyrone Wolf needs to get his guys on the board fast. Dropping back, looking over the middle of the field, but that is not what he wants to see. An interception by Ty Battle, and he's going to battle for that football. He wins it. Another scoring chance for Weber State. Now, the Wildcats, they will settle for a field goal, but this is a lot that's happening right now in this game. We're only 90 seconds in right now. 17-0 ends up being your lead. But eventually, Northern Arizona, they will find the scoreboard as they got a little bit too cute with trying to set up a trick play there. And the custom Charles Hurst. Hurst is going to take the ball into the end zone. And Northern Arizona is no longer being shut out, 17-7. We'll see if Abilene Thomas can shake that off. And he's going to shake it off like a Taylor Swift song. 51 yards is going to be your touchdown here, as Abilene Thomas just having a clinic against the Northern Arizona defense, although might have gotten a little bit lucky with the ball being dropped by the DB. But hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. And Weber State, they are certainly having a good old time right now, as Tyrone Wolf is going to fumble the football and get his way into the end zone. That's another touchdown for Weber State. That's a corner walking off the wide receiver, doing just a great job in coverage and just coming up making a play. Weber State absolutely dominating right now. Tyrone Wolf and company do not have any answers on the offensive side of the football. They need to come up with some answers extremely fast. 31-7 already. We've only played a quarter of football. And this is to a Weber State defense that is actually in the bottom 20 in points allowed on a per game basis. So I'm actually really surprised that Weber State is dominating that the way that it has been. That's another turnover that they force. Yet another defensive touchdown. Maybe this is the Weber State defense that they've been capable of this entire time. I don't know. But what I do know is that Weber State has a massive lead right now. 38-7. And while Northern Arizona does not turn the football over on their next drive, they do have a huge mishap in the special teams as well. Yet another touchdown for the Weber State Wildcats. And Weber State, they just run away with it against Northern Arizona. 65-14 is going to end up being the final score, as the Wildcats, they make a big statement win here in conference play. But before we check out the Sports Illustrated magazine, we'll take a quick look at some of the other late games that happened here in this FCS Dynasty here in week number 11. We start off with James Madison. They played host to Norfolk State, and the Spartans actually gave a pretty tough time, but James Madison was still able to pull it out, winning 38-28 at home in what will boost their conference championship resume. That being said, in terms of top 25 teams, we do also see Southeastern take care of business as well. Going on the road to take on Northwestern State, the Lions win 23-14, as Southeastern is now 6-3 and looking like they're in pretty good shape to make the FCS playoffs for the first time. Central Michigan also taking care of business as well, as they're in MAC action against Southern Illinois. Central Michigan wins 33-14. They're sitting at 6-2 and looking pretty good as well. Eastern Carolina, however, very narrowly avoiding an upset once again, this time at the hands of Northeastern, but Eastern Carolina wins 31-24 in order to remain in the AP Top 25. But it looks like we will have a conference champion named, as San Diego State, they blow out Denver 42-10 at home. San Diego State, they will effectively clinch the conference, so we should see them once again in the FCS playoffs. Eastern Michigan, however, not going to be so lucky, as they're going to lose a heartbreaker to their rival Western Michigan 39-29, as Eastern Michigan only takes their second loss of the season. Also likely to fall out of the top 25 is Arkansas Pine Bluff, losing a close game to Alabama State, as the Hornets win 37-31. Arkansas Pine Bluff, of course, on the bubble to make it to the FCS playoffs, and this will not help. So it's been some incredible action that we have witnessed, not only in the gameplay, but also in the simulation as well. And with Texas Southern losing, as well as some other top 25 teams, that might have a huge effect on that top 25. So we'll go ahead and check that out now to see what's going down. And right now, still two undefeated teams remaining. Georgia Southern and Utah State are still hanging around. They are 1-2, but a little bit of minor changes as Akron moves up one, as does New Hampshire and Southern. But Portland State does get a really big rise, up 3 spots to number 6, thanks to their 24-point win over Sacramento State. They're looking really good, in a very good spot right now as is North Dakota State. They're hanging in at number 7. And then Eastern Kentucky in that first round bye range. They're sitting at number 8 in the country off of that 14-point win off of Eastern Illinois. Outside of the top 8 first round buys, we do have Sacramento State. They took pretty hefty drop down to number 9. So Sacramento State and Portland State did essentially switch spots. San Diego State is back in the top 10 after their drubbing of Denver. Houston State's up 2 spots as well. They blew out the Citadel. They're now up to 7-1. As is Southeast Missouri State, they also blew out Youngstown State. In the second half of the AP Top 25, James Madison, they're up to number 13 now with their 10-point win over Norfolk State in the simulation. Western Carolina also moves a couple of spots as well. They got a pretty big win against Alabama A&M to keep themselves in the division race for the Big 12. At 15, we got Central Michigan. They beat Southern Illinois by 19. They continue to get through this season pretty well. And Southeastern also making a stride up the top 25. They're now number 16. This is their highest AP ranking in this series here in year number 4. So a good year for the Southeastern Lions. As for the rest of the top group, we got Eastern Carolina at 17. Ohio, despite being on bye, they actually move up 6 spots up to 18. Ohio trying to make it into the FCS playoffs. Texas Southern, meanwhile, still hanging in the top 25, but one of their biggest drops in the polls this week. They're now number 19 after a shocking loss to Mississippi Valley State. Rounding out the AP Top 25 poll, we do have Weber State. They are now officially ranked after a 65-14 win over Northern Arizona. Western Kentucky moves up 4 spots despite being on bye. And then we do have Tennessee Tech. They're hanging in there. They fell a few spots. Kent State is back in the top 25. They're the 2-time national champions in this series. Samford is also ranked, and then Tennessee Martin does get back into the top 25. With that being said, we still have some teams receiving some votes, but the biggest shock here is that Eastern Michigan, they came in number 8 in the country. They have dropped out of the top 25. Now, they are still receiving votes, but definitely a huge shock for the Eagles. Other teams that are also receiving votes to look out for: Northern Arizona, Eastern Washington, South Carolina State, Arkansas Pine Bluff, and then rounding out the group is Alcorn State in terms of teams that are receiving votes for the AP Top 25. Then we take a quick update into the Heisman Trophy race, and right now Jonathan Bauer still sits on top, having a good year. 6 catches, 105 yards, and 4 touchdowns against the Denver Pioneers, so he's firmly in first place. However, do have a little bit of a change among the rest of the AP Early's Heisman watch. Stephen Robinson, he's now up to number 2. He's having a great year so far. 43 total touchdowns, trying to will the New Mexico State Aggies into the playoffs. We'll see if that happens. Dustin Arnold, though, another sophomore. He has Utah State undefeated right now and had a good game against Oral Roberts. 2 touchdowns. Also had 50 rushing yards in the game. He has been a huge reason why Utah State has been successful. But someone that has been falling, though, is Ikeda Woods, the senior redshirt out of Georgia Southern. He actually was hurt, so we did not see him in the game against McNeese State. So that's a huge reason why he's dropping, not because of what he's doing on the field. And then rounding out the group and still hanging in there in the Heisman watch, we got one of your guys' customs, Jody Gentry, the junior from James Madison. He had 4 catches and 53 yards in that Norfolk State game. He's closing in on 1,000 yards already, as well as 14 touchdowns already on the year. So we close in on the end of the regular season, and we got a lot of intense action. Next episode, we will have 8 more games for you guys, and it will be all nationally televised games according to the NCAA Next Mod. So definitely some high marquee games that we will be watching for, and should be an incredible episode next time out. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this episode's alliteration of the FCS Dynasty. And if you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off, but I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.